Hey everyone, welcome to EntrepreNINES. I'm John Wist.
And I'm Bonni Mace. We're two Enneagram 9s who took the big leap into the world of entrepreneurship at a similar time. And this podcast is a space where we are inviting you to laugh and learn with us as we work to build businesses with soul. This is episode 38.
38. And Bonni, let's just be real. We're recording virtually tonight, and
Yeah.
it feels so weird to do an introduction without any music. They're hearing it, but
we are not.
We did not, and so it just feels weird. But anyways.
It feels like we had less zest this time. It's because we weren't also like jamming.
Yeah.
Normally
we can like rock out to our music.
Yeah. Which we do, in fact. Peek behind the curtain. At least I do. I get like, if I feel it.
Yeah.
I think it's probably like sibling pride too, because my brother like wrote it and made it for us.
Yeah.
So I always feel just like a little warm inside.
Yeah. It's very nice. It's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're releasing this late because we recorded it late.
Yeah.
But we're doing it, Bonni.
Now.
We are sticking to it. We're doing it.
Let's say it's on theme because we're going to talk about pivoting, and this week was a pivot.
Yeah. There's been lots of pivoting happening. It's been like
the whole month.
Several weeks of pivoting.
Several weeks of pivoting.
But those are more personal. We'll talk about business pivots tonight.
Let's be like that sometimes, John.
I know. So, this all came from Bonni pivoting.
I did pivot.
So we thought, why not? Well, let's talk about that. So Bonni,
John,
tell us about the pivot that you have made in your business.
Yeah. My pivot is kind of like a niching down is sort of how I viewed it. And I think probably externally it seems like a big pivot to everyone, but for me it's just been like more clarifying because I started out this Enneagram business of just like, I want to help people learn the Enneagram. And my target audience was people. And
all people.
All the people. And I like couldn't name an audience and I couldn't figure out who I want to go after. And people would be like, what's your like thing? Like that, like, are you just going to teach me the Enneagram? I can go to YouTube for that. And so I was having like identity crises about that again and again. And then I sort of niched down to like people who are going through seasons of uncertainty. Right.
Yeah.
And so I toyed around with that for about a year, I realized, because I redid my whole website right before Creative Church last year. And that would have been at the end of October. And so I like re-released my whole website and had this whole thing towards like people who are going through seasons of uncertainty. And that was just too nebulous. Like nobody really latched onto that. At all.
Yeah.
Not in a way that made them think like, yes, I need coaching for this or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, because I was like, nothing is working. I suck at this.
Burn it all down.
Yes, which is still an issue I have actually occasionally. I want to burn it all down, even Monday. So then I was like, in the spring, like right before the summer, I was like, maybe it's people in the first 3 years of something new. So it's not uncertainty. It's like something new the first 3 years because that's the season of uncertainty. And that was like a hot second thing that I actually really didn't care. I mean, yes, I care about people in this season, but it's not like that's not it.
That wasn't you. Yeah. That was. Yeah.
That wasn't me. And then through a series of questions with the coach school that I'm doing with Allie Worthington.
Yeah.
She was basically like, what's your superpower? And that sent me into another identity crisis. So basically all of my pivoting is centered around identity crises, particularly.
Yeah.
And then the way she helped us actually identify our superpower, one of the questions was like, what books are you reading all the time that people think are weird?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so that was kind of like this clue for me. So I was like, oh, because Lauren, your dear wife, has told me like, you just read these for fun? That is so weird. Like, I think she's actually said the phrase, that is so weird of you to me before, of that like spiritual formation and like books about thinking about your faith and God
Yeah.
and like this grief book that, I've shoved down your throat and like all of these
It's
things. She's
great.
like, that's just so weird. Like, I would never read those books for fun. She says with her like, you know, PG-13
Right.
romance novels here and there,
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So that was like my final thing to be like, okay, I need to just like stop running from this idea that I like to think about and talk about faith.
Mhm.
I can think about faith and like and understand, and I want people to understand themselves as a masterpiece and
Mhm.
not see themselves as like just depraved, sinful trash. And like the Enneagram is what helped me with that personally.
Right.
And so I can help
Right.
people with that. And like this is the deconstructing crowd. So really I need to like go after the people who are deconstructing
Yeah.
and who, yeah,
Yeah.
don't want to think about God in like a very certain way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
plus there's a lot of people going through that right now.
Right.
That
Right.
could be a whole own podcast episode. We won't do that.
Okay.
So that's my pivot.
Yeah. And I pulled up your website, Bonnie, while you're talking.
It still needs some work done.
No, it's okay. No. The reason why I did is because I wanted to get the language right of
Yeah.
the language you use, because I feel like while you're labeling it as an identity crisis, I don't think it's an identity crisis.
For me, it felt like an identity crisis.
Yeah, but if you look at the language that you're using, and this is just a thought I just had. Also, I did listen to the podcast that you were on recently, the story one.
I haven't listened to it yet.
It's great. It's fantastic.
Thanks.
You did a great job. But I heard it there too, and I thought, oh, really interesting. Like your kind of like core tenets are still the same.
Yeah.
Like knowing yourself, knowing your values, the
Hmm.
rhythm stuff, like
It all makes more sense now when I have leaned into the
yeah, compassion,
audience and the
confidence,
direction.
like
Yeah.
all of that is still there, and it's like, but it still makes sense for what you're doing
Hmm.
now. And so it really is a pivot. Like it
Hmm.
really is like you already had the foundation there.
Yeah.
You just had to find the right audience and like the right maybe way to uh like I guess maybe portray it publicly,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like you had it in your
Yeah.
head and it was for the most part even public, but like the
Right.
faith element, the deconstruction element just wasn't out there yet.
Yeah. And it's the part that I was like saying but not saying in a lot of stuff
Right.
because I was being chicken about it. And there were definitely times that I would try to explain to people like, I have this Enneagram coaching business and I also want to help people figure out like their values and their rhythm of life. And those other
Yeah.
two things, they would be like, what?
What?
Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And
Yeah.
I'd be like,
Yeah.
no, it makes sense. And when I finally leaned into like, no, it's when you're deconstructing and your whole identity was once
Right.
like your faith background and that informed your values and that informed, how you lived your life and all of that falls apart at one time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that now it does finally make more sense and people go, that sounds amazing. And now I
Yeah.
get people being like, that sounds amazing altogether. They haven't started paying me yet,
Right.
but
But they
I
love
haven't
how it
started
sounds.
yeah, I haven't started putting it out there like a
Yeah.
lot yet. I've just started
Right.
doing it in the last month or so more publicly. Actually,
Yeah.
really, I started posting it on social media last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go.
So that actually leads me to another question. And that is how do in your case, like how do you feel like you knew that that pivot was the correct pivot to make?
Um, Always being a chicken about doing it.
So it was a core fear of yours.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think some of
Mhm.
it was just like it's the draw. Like I couldn't let go of like writing blog posts about what I was thinking about
Yeah.
my faith, and there's all these things that I wanted to fit in, and I couldn't get them to fit another way. But I was really just like, I'm afraid of internet trolls and offending
Mhm.
people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was like realizing those two things. That's like the only reason I'm not, using hashtag deconstruction or whatever is because I'm afraid of internet trolls and offending people.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. So maybe I actually do need to be doing this. And then honestly, like when I finally like just stepped into this is the direction I'm going. I'm gonna start talking about my faith again.
Yeah.
And some of it was fear of just like I realized that I've had a platform and talked about my faith publicly before. And I probably said some things that I would disagree with myself now. And I'm
Okay.
like, was that bad stewardship? So now I've also had
Mm.
to like grapple through like stewarding what I believe now and like being able to present things in a less this is how it is kind of way than when you're
Yeah.
on staff at a church.
Yeah.
So anyway, once I realized that the only thing keeping me from it was like fear and that all of the things I had been like drawn towards made sense together, and when I put it in like into this target audience and into this light,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I'm like, okay, this is what I think I need to be doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel sure internally, but it still also kind of feels like we'll have to see if it works. You know,
Yeah.
if it's actually going to be a sustainable business model, I don't know. So
Yeah.
that's still TBD.
Yeah. But you feel confident that it's like the direction, if nothing else, the direction you need to go in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I
Right?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I probably need to be in this lane. If that's the lane that makes me money, that'll be the thing that's, like feels kind of, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think maybe I could, but I also want to do it not in like a way that feels like exploity of people
Right.
in a hard season.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like I'm probably gonna be talking in this lane for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
What scale that is and all of those things are, I don't
Right.
know. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, which leads me to something that we discussed before we started recording, which is it feels like, and this is coming from two first-time business people, small
Yeah.
business people,
Yeah.
but like it feels like small business, at least, um, from our experience, is a series of pivots
Yeah.
because it's not the first time, right? Like you talked in your story about like,
At least two,
yeah,
three.
this is probably number three, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
when you start off, and mine is similar in the sense of like you start off and you feel like you just need to make money, and so your audience is anyone
Yeah.
who will listen to you talk to you.
Yeah. Talk about yours more,
um,
John. Talk
okay,
about your pivoting. You're not getting off the hook.
no, that's fine. I didn't plan on
Good.
unhooking myself.
Un-
um, um, no, well, I mean, I just think when I started, I had connections to nonprofits, and
mm-hmm.
so I kind of stayed in that lane, and then
Yeah.
also looked at natural like parallels to that. So and also my experience, right? So my experience was, at least for the 6 years before that, church
Mm-hmm.
ministry, live
Mm-hmm.
streaming, church events, um, and so nonprofits, events, live streaming, like that kind of seemed like the natural way to go. And
Mm-hmm.
then I well, I mean, I still enjoy working with nonprofits. I mean, I think that's something that, hopefully I'll continue to be able to do. I think the way in which I interact and the kind of content I create for them is different than what I would have imagined when I
Mm-hmm.
first started.
Yeah.
So I think that is some of the pivot with that specific like audience. But I think I kind of quickly discovered that the live events, live stream space, while I can do it and I can do it well, and I may have some opportunities in the future for it, or I may not, like it's not the space that I feel passionate about. And
Yeah.
so that's still on my website right now.
But
uh,
maybe
but
not forever.
yeah, so it's interesting because I was saying like that, it would start out nonprofits, live stream, live events. when I started to think about how could I work with small businesses that I like enjoyed or like wanted to try to partner with, those things didn't really line up, like
Mm.
with my original thinking. And so I had to start to try to discover like what are the things I offer to small
Yeah.
businesses. So I think that's where, like brand awareness type of content started to come in and started to be more of a thing. And so I really, once I actually redid my website,
Mhm.
that's when I really pivoted pretty hard then to like, I guess amplifying that as my focus, like
The brand
brand
videos.
awareness stuff.
Mhm.
And live streaming and live events became like that was at the back of the bus kind of a deal.
Mhm.
And in the middle was something that I just started to feel out, which was online courses and digital education stuff, because I didn't have much experience, but I was enjoying it. Like I had a couple
Mhm.
opportunities and was enjoying it. So those kind of became the next three. And now, now it feels like
No.
live streaming and live events needs to get off the bus and find a new home.
Yeah.
Um, and
Not at Unite Creative Co. You people.
yeah, and that like brand awareness stuff stays, online content or online course stuff stays.
Mhm.
And maybe podcasting gets kind of put in
Mhm.
there. But also something that you and I have talked about is like I feel like I need to niche down further than just what I offer. Like I need
Yeah.
the audience still isn't small enough yet in a
Mhm.
sense. Which sounds counterintuitive, but there needs to be more focus in the audience. And so where my
Mhm.
head is on that at the moment, and it feels right because it feels like the people that I'm going after, if I'm cold calling or emailing or whatever, let's be real, I'm not calling anybody, I'm just emailing. So but the people
Hashtag introverted millennial.
yeah, the people I'm going after are people who, when I do some research on them, there's some element of what they do, there's some element of their business that is community minded, gives back, is socially conscious, socially aware. So, like, I don't know how to put a label on that yet,
Mhm. Mhm.
or like have a headline, like define what that is. But like, those are the people that I feel like I'm drawn to. And so
Mhm.
I think it's starting to coalesce around all of that stuff. But
Mhm.
it's like doing what you did, which is like making the call, and coming up with the language, defining the language, and then telling the world, you know,
Putting the language out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Yeah, that's tricky. Riches are in the niches. That's what they say.
that's what they say.
The
That's what they
proverbial
say.
they.
Yeah, that's what they say.
That's what they say.
Mm.
And
But
it's
yeah,
true. I mean, but it's tricky. And that's where I
yeah,
think a lot of the early on pivoting, like you were saying, of just like small business continuing to be pivoting again
yeah,
and again.
yeah. And I was looking around for, I have my little notebook. Like I have in my notebook, like I have one of those notebooks that you can like erase stuff
Yeah.
out of. And
Rocketbook.
yeah,
Here we
that
go.
one. There you go. Hashtag not sponsored. But like one of the few things that I've never erased out of it is that my first notes that I took about my business and just like
Mm.
the big dreams that you have at the very beginning of like what this
Hmm.
could be. And honestly, like the offerings part is like it's part of it, but it's like one of those things where I felt like I just had to define what I would be
Yeah.
offering people. But
Right.
the heart of it is that, like, that community minded connectedness piece. So that's actually
Hmm.
never, like, just like yours, a lot of your language, like
Right.
a lot of the foundational language has never gone anywhere. It's always been there, and it's always kind of defined the direction that the pivots have gone, but it's just like fully owning it at some
Mhm.
point, you know, and being
Mhm.
like, this is who I am, this is what I do. And I'm not scared. I'm not scared to say it anymore, you know?
But also I kinda am.
Yeah. Um, kind of a thing. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
I agree.
this is basically number 3 pivot for me too. So,
Look
you
at
know,
that.
yeah.
Maybe there is something there.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think a lot of it is like building a small business. So John and I, we're both artists, and at our core, when it comes down to it, which is also something I've been thinking about a lot. Like, how do I
That's funny.
let myself be an artist again? Um, but I do think
Question.
building a small business is a little bit like there is a little bit of that artistry, because at first you go out there and you're just like, I'm just gonna make it happen,
Yeah.
but you don't really like know what you're doing
Like
yet.
make what happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not really sure like what it is, and you're not really sure like what you're good at in this context,
Yeah.
and all of those things. And so I do think some of the pivoting or like narrowing down or like refining what your services are going to be
Yeah.
are just part of like the editing process. So that it's like writing when you write first and you just
Mhm.
like blah, 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 and you're like, I just wrote 5,000 words and this is
Mhm.
supposed to be 1,500 words or whatever. And so then you just have to keep cleaning it up, paring it down,
Yeah.
clearing it up and clearing it up. And then when you finally get that thing that's like, yes, this is hit, now I have to put it out there.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be the, you know, streaking through the world with
Yeah.
my real offering. And
I
then
do.
that's going to
Yeah.
pivot again,
Yeah.
probably too, though.
I like that analogy though, because I mean, well, you're speaking my language when you talk about editing. So,
Yeah.
but I feel like even just like in a, like just to use a recent project for an example, like I was editing this project and for someone else, you know, so
Mhm.
like, um, so, you know, you get all of the raw content,
Right.
right? And the raw content is all pertaining to the
Mhm.
topic, right? Like
Mhm.
it's all on topic. But you have to like narrow it down to something that is like digestible and makes sense and is a
Yeah.
story and leads you somewhere, you know, not just random thought. And so
Right.
you get that, and then once you have that, it's like, well, what else is distracting me, you know, like what
Mhm.
else is here that isn't necessary because it's like repeating, or it's, you know, same thing said twice but in different ways, or it's actually not foundational, but it's just an aside, but it sounds
Right.
really nice, you know, or
Yeah.
something like that. And so then you get that all down, and then you're like, but now I need to help people understand this a little better. And so in the video world, that's b-roll, right? That's
The extra.
illustrating the
Mm.
words
Mhm.
that are being said in a new way so people can understand it better. And then
Mhm.
of course, like there's the music, and you so like you kind of add on all these little things around the outside. um but yeah, I think, you know, you get that foundational like backbone
But that's hard to
there.
get to.
But
Yeah.
that's like, yeah, well, that's 50% or more of what my job is. Like when I'm talking about editing a video,
Yeah.
like 50% or more is just getting to the backbone,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
And so if you consider we've only been in business for
2 years.
2 years, you know,
We're toddlers.
we've done
Toddler.
50% of the work,
Yeah.
Bonnie.
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah,
hopefully. I think
yeah,
it'll be good.
yeah,
It'll be great. Yeah,
yeah,
it
yeah,
is it is just an interesting season of, like, and you always hear people starting, who say they're starting a business of, like, you gotta get through the first few years, like, all these businesses shutter in the first couple because
yeah,
they can't, like, you can't work through this point, and you can't get
right,
down to the, like, portion of it that what is it that I really am, and one that want to actually offer and can offer well. Because I think
right,
that some of it is with my pivoting is it's kind of like I feel like actually it would be easier to make more money on people who are in transitioning in the first 3 years or whatever, in a new
right,
season, or like specifically targeting people to train their new hires with enneagram. Like that would probably be pretty lucrative,
right.
but I don't want to. just hang out there, you know? And so then being honest and vulnerable and like getting to that point of aligning who you are with like what the business is that you're building is a lot of work and tricky.
Well, it goes back to a little bit of why we do like this, right? The podcast in the first place is like businesses with soul. Like, because I could run out and I could probably do a lot of business selling to some very specific niches, right?
Right.
But that's not.
Like we've talked about the lucrative potential with like adults kind of videos, and that's just not. I mean, that's that's not what. But you could like you could make a ton of money with that.
Oh yeah, my head wasn't even going there tonight. But yeah, I mean, no, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, but that's true. I mean, there's just so much. There's so many places where you can make a lot of money if that is your goal, right? Like if that's what you want to do, like there's ways to do that.
Yeah.
But it is different, I think, when you're conceiving of ways to do it a different way.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Lifestyle style.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense. So. Yeah. Small business, constant pivoting. I do hopefully, I believe with hope, John, that as we continue to move forward, the pivots will feel less like earth shattering. Because I do think we're still in the point of the game where it's just like, okay, here we go. Like we're going to move this whole thing. And it feels like a big, it feels like a big shift. Like every time you take down a service or add a service or narrow down your audience a little bit more, like all of those things just feel like we're still pushing the big rock up the steep part of the hill.
Yeah.
One day we'll just be directing the rock as it rolls downhill, hopefully.
Yeah.
Different pivot.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's interesting. Like there's some other things that we were talking about as potentials for this podcast. And I feel like even some of those things, which we'll have other podcasts about them, but things like delegation and hiring and all, like even those things feel like next stage pivots. Right. Like we're in a stage of pivoting now that is still just figuring out like business in general, and then specifically us, like in our businesses. And then it feels like there's like another level up from that, which is like all the pivoting that comes from when you actually take a step back from the thing that you do because you feel like that is your expertise, and you start to run a business versus be the business, I guess. Like that feels like a whole nother stratosphere.
That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's another podcast for 2026 or something.
Okay. Great. Sounds great.
Episode 300.
We're almost to 40, Bonni. We're almost there.
Exciting.
It's very exciting.
I feel good about that. And thank you to all of you who've listened to us for 38 straight, almost 40 episodes. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Even when we record late at night and release an episode late. Sorry.
But Bonni, we do need to let people know that we're going to take a little break.
Yeah.
Not a long break. Just we're going to take a break for the holidays. Right? We're going to come back in 2024 with some new episodes. But we're going to take some time off for Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Yeah.
So are we going to hit, we're going to hit 40 before we stop?
Are we going to hit 40 before we stop? I mean, John, this is requiring a calendar. Maybe people, we'll see. Yeah. Maybe we'll come back solid in 2024 with number 40. That might actually be the timing that's better, because we'll release, this is coming out. It's a space near you. You're already going to be hearing it. And then there's one more that would be the week of Thanksgiving. So
yeah,
we can do one. Let's come back to 2024 strong with number 40.
I like it. You just heard our processing.
We just pivoted right here in real time. Amazing. This outdone, ladies and gentlemen.
That's how you do it. All right. So we're going to take a little break. We will be back in 2024 with number 40, but 39 is going to come the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So you can listen on your travels to wherever you're headed
for
Thanksgiving, or just while you're cooking your turkey.
I'm going to be cooking the turkey. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be good. So. This is the wisdom of, we learned this lesson last year over holidays when we just ghosted you guys. And this year we're not ghosting. We're not ghosting you guys. Instead, we're telling you about it and making a plan. But Work Like a Nine is not going to be stopping.
Yeah.
That's going to continue on. We're going to keep doing that. We're having fun doing that and talking on our Voxer and having our monthly meetups. And our next one is coming.
Yeah.
Very soon.
The week of Thanksgiving, actually.
November 20th is the day. I needed to look at it. I know it was 20-something, but it's just 20. And you can still join us. We'd love you to have that. We'd love for you to have that. I was struggling with the words.
We'd love for you.
We love you. Come have. Anyway,
okay.
We talk about things like pivoting and all of that fun stuff there too. So
yeah, 100%. You can find all that information at EntrepreNINES.com. And for the podcast, feel free to leave us a rating or review wherever you listen. That really helps people find us. Also, I was listening to a podcast today and they were like, plus it's feedback and you can tell us what we do right and wrong. And I was like,
yeah,
that's a great point.
You could write us a review that's like, Bonni and John, just script your closing, for crying out loud. And maybe that would motivate us to do it, because here we are.
Maybe we could actually do that.
But right now we're not going to do it because we don't have anyone asking us to.
Yeah.
Which reminds me that we have all the things in the show notes, like our websites that we talked about and our social media that John doesn't use. And we would love for you to follow along and join our email list.
And Bonni can put the podcast that she was on in there, since I talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. And Rocket Books. I'll put Rocket Books in there too.
Okay, sounds good. One day we're going to mention something and like it's going to register somehow on somebody's analytics and data, and they're going to be like, what is this? And maybe we'll get our first sponsor.
Niche podcast that's talking about Rocket Books.
Yeah. It's going to happen, buddy.
Come after us, Rocket Books. We're ready.
Yeah, bring it.
Anyway, yeah. This is a symptom of it being nighttime.
Yes,
What's happening now?
Yeah.
But we're glad that you're here with us. Thanks for listening on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday.
Yeah. I'm sure the 24-hour wait has been tough for some of you, but
excruciating.
We appreciate your patience.
Yeah. All right, friends. All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Sounds good. See ya.
Bye.